Teams across the country. We're staying in Johannesburg now and going to our markets anchor Arabile Gumede, who's at the airport. Very good afternoon to you, Arabile. Update us on what's happening.
Yeah, good afternoon, Nzinga. Look, it certainly has been a situation where you're finding that some flights are certainly being rejigged and rechanged around, flight plans and flights themselves certainly being changed around for some commuters as well. So you certainly are finding that this queue behind us has gotten less and less. So perhaps people finding other alternatives to other destinations. Earlier on, we spoke to a lady who's from the United Kingdom, had her entire holiday planned out here in South Africa, particularly in the Western Cape, all around the East Coast, and had hoped to end off her holiday in Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. And the only connecting flight to that destination was, of course, here, and finding that unfortunately it was not to be. So that is the scenario that we're finding ourselves in here. It is empty desks as well. As we take a look towards my left-hand side, we are finding that yes, there are some consultants here, but certainly not necessarily a situation where we're finding that there are people who are helping passengers as well. So it's a bit of a difficult one. We are finding that some of these employees are non-unionized workers then. So clearly you're finding that people are here to work, but unfortunately because SAA is grounded effectively, they're unable to continue operations. The whole day has been one where we've seen ulterior plans being made, as you noted there from Tladi saying that they will find other aircraft, even if it means finding larger aircraft or other airlines as well. That is of key significance. That is of key importance as well, trying to find alternative ways and alternative routes then for passengers to get to their various destinations. 52 million rand a day, 104 million rand for today and tomorrow, 28 billion rand over 13 years is what SAA has cost taxpayers. Hasn't turned a profit since 2011, hasn't even issued financials for the last 2 financial years, and even lost its CEO earlier this year, having seen a lack of commitment for his restructuring plan then that was aimed at turning positive and even creating a break-even stance for SAA at least by 2021. So it clearly is a very difficult situation. SAA trying to find alternatives and trying to find another way. The unions, obviously, as you've noted, saying they will stand until their demands are met. Speaking of unions, my colleague Mbalenhle Mthethwa is, of course, at Airways Park as well then, where she is trying to catch up with perhaps the latest when it comes to this strike where the unions are involved. Of course, this is the headquarters and where conversations and discussions are certainly being held. I'll cross on over to you, Mbalenhle. It certainly has been difficult here. Is it as difficult there as well, with the workers really saying that their demands have to be met before they head on back to work?
Good afternoon, Arabile. The developments on this side is that just before we started this crossing, just before I started speaking to you, rather, a gentleman behind me announced that SAA had cancelled flights for Sunday and Monday. This means that the airline could stand the possibility of losing 200 million rand over the next 4 days. We know that they did inform the media and the public that they were losing 50 million rand a day. Now, this is an amount that the unions were saying that is all 100 million rand, rather, was the amount that the unions were saying is all they need in order for the union to meet the airline, rather, to meet its demands. We understand that SACA as well as NUMSA formed a partnership in order to bring the SAA to its knees, using this strike to bring to the public's attention what they feel is mass mismanagement, and they are saying that workers should not bear the brunt of mass looting and mismanagement at SOEs. Now, the latest news also that we've recently come across are the sentiments that have come across from both Finance Minister Mboweni as well as Minister of Public Enterprises Pravin Gordhan. We've heard a stern warning coming from the Department of Public Enterprises, where they're saying that they would be willing they are willing to take difficult decisions because SAA is not too big to fail, and this essentially means that this could mean literally anything. It could mean that they would be willing to sell SAA, which is something that was something that Finance Minister alluded to when he spoke about SAA possibly meeting with strategic rather private partnership, private equity partners. But to speak to us about this and to respond to these allegations that we've come across, I'm joined by two union leaders, one from NUMSA and one from SACA. But first, I'm going to speak to NUMSA President. Please speak to us about the latest revelations that have come out from the papers that Minister of Public Enterprises is saying that they would be willing to take difficult decisions relating to the strike. And they're saying that, you know, this strike is only unions basically playing politics. Talk to us about that.
Well, my understanding is that they have already taken a decision which we are willing to fight throughout. They have taken a decision to retrench workers without informing us. We read that from the papers that they are going to retrench. I must say that we're not playing any political game here. I think all we are doing here is that we're demanding what is due to the workers and nothing else. There is no politics, nothing. They must just pay workers their salaries, their wages, their increase, and nothing else. That is what we are looking for. There is no political game that we are playing.
Thank you so much for that. Zazi, let me come back to you. Finance Minister talking about how they are pleased to hear that SAA is engaging, this is still an allegation, is engaging with strategic private partners. I mean, this obviously speaks to partnership. What are your views as a union about this?
I mean, as SACA, a year or two ago when these talks were happening, we wrote a letter to the board and indicated that, you know, our first prize is to engage workers in maybe using us to boost this airline financially. Nobody has responded to that letter. So firstly, we must be very clear. We do not agree with privatization because this airline can be saved on its own merit. Let's put the right people in the right position. We had a capable CEO like Viane Jahana. They obviously clashed with the minister, and now Viane is out, and we left with people that unfortunately cannot do the job required to turn it around. So we are here. We are here as people that are interested in saving this company. The minister must come and engage us and stop making statements from New York and come and engage us. We've got real things to say to him, so he must come.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. So that's the word from NUMSA as well as SACA, basically responding to some of the news that has come across from New York and some of the news that we have read about in the papers. For now, it's back to you in studio.
Valenhle Mtetwa giving us an update then, giving us the voices of the unions who are participating in that strike.